Welcome back to Awful Movie Reviews.
How much time do you expect to keep me here?
And today we're looking at something really awful. We're traveling to Spain with the Ghost Galleon. Ugh. Another bad horror movie which takes place on a ship. But just before we get going, can you guys think of any other bad movies which take place on a boat? Just let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to never miss out on another bad movie review every Friday and cult horror movie review every Tuesday.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Now, this is essentially a Night of the Living Dead wannabe, except that it doesn't have the same charisma, let's put it that way, nor the same thrills. In fact, it's got no thrills at all, it's thrill-less.
Does it now? Well, not as much as it appears.
The poster looks pretty interesting, with that skull wearing the devil's horns and all, but don't be fooled, this is premium trash. It's a big parade of boredom. It actually literally feels like an extract of pure boredom.
I often ask myself if I wasn't wasting my time.
The movie starts off very peculiar right off the bat, as we follow a swimsuit model who's looking for her friend. It seems like she just vanished, but in fact she was sent into the middle of nowhere on a small boat and now appears to be stranded with a friend. And all of that was for the money and the publicity stunts. Isn't that the weirdest thing to do? And the modeling agents were so wrapped up into what they were doing that they even refused to let her friend know about it. What the heck? And the two girls just casually bump into a 16th century galleon. Yep, nothing suspicious looking at all about this ship.
Now that would have ruined the whole idea.
And from there you guys can probably guess where this is heading, as the two girls never make it back, and so the team has got to go out looking for them. And that's when we find out that the ship is haunted, as several decomposing cadavers jump out of their tombs to eat to the people on board. Well, jump out is a massive exaggeration. Those ghouls, or zombies, or mummies, or whatever they are like dead sloths. I found it amazing how they even managed to kill anyone. The characters have got to literally throw themselves into the ghouls' arms to seal their fate. It's ridiculous.
I'm sorry. I just can't stand it any longer.
The backstory to the ghosts is actually pretty interesting. They're supposed to be an ancient Knight Templar who became devil worshippers and were excommunicated. But the devil granted them eternal life on the vessel. It's a shame that they didn't go deeper into the story, although, what was I expecting? This is an awful movie after all. I assume that the micro budget they had was spent on the special makeup effects, and I think that they look good. There's something pretty ghastly about them, but I could tell that there was no room left for virtually anything else. And aside from the characters being super bland and flat, and the acting being so wooden that I felt like plucking my eyes out just to not watch it, virtually all of the shots taken on the ship are really dark.
The only truth missing here is a little bit of light.
And sometimes it was so dark that I actually wondered if my PC hadn't turned off for a second and went pitch dark.
You really think we'll see something around here?
Speaking of budget limitations, the galleon from a distance looks sometimes a little cartoonish, like a drawing. And oh man, when fire is set to the ship, the whole thing explodes. I almost cried. You can tell that it's nothing more than a small miniature inside a very small tank. Another big issue is the lack of music for scenes that could have really benefited from an intense and eerie score. But here, nope, that wasn't an option. Something that I really hated about the Ghost Galleon, apart from everything else, is that it tries to play with suspense but it fails miserably.
Tell me what's going on then.
After all, the main reason to see this movie is for the undead creatures, which we don't see until a solid 30 minutes in, but the build-up is so long. There's no suspense being provided before we see the creatures, and that's because there's nothing going on. The pacing is so slow, slower than the ghouls themselves. That so-called build-up just starved us. And the dubbing, oh, don't even get me started. It almost made me lose my entire faith in humanity. I thought that the dubbing was bad in movies like Godzilla vs. Megalon or Time of the Apes, but the Ghost Galleon is on a whole other level. It looks down on these movies as being quality. I found out that this movie is part of a series of 5 horror films, all directed by Spanish director Armando de Osorio.
Leave me alone.
It's called the Blind Dead series, and that's just my luck because I was recommended the worst of the franchise. Although, let's be totally honest here, people, you really can't sink lower than this. What an awful movie.